Time for a controversial kind of video. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard officially has 19 albums in their discography. Number 20 is coming on April 24th with the release of Omnium Gatherum. And in anticipation for its release, I decided to compile my top 10 favorite King Gizzard albums. I want to first start off by saying that there is not a single album in their discography that I dislike. And with that out of the way, let's get into my top 10. Number 10 on my list was the very first King Gizzard album that I ever listened to, I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. Mind Fuzz is constantly recommended as the go-to starter King Gizzard album. And for good reason. It's got its really, more intense, hardcore rock moments, but also has its really chill moments as well. The first 4 songs in this album are iconic for a reason. They flow super well and really kick off the album on a high note. Empty, Am I in Heaven, Slow Jam 1 and 2, these are also highlights for me, and definitely an album that I can recommend to any beginner fan. Number 9 on my list is Sketches of Brunswick East. It was very tough picking between Sketches and what's going to be number 8. However, I decided to put Sketches here as compared to the one that's going to come next, I don't think this album is as great all throughout. I would go as far as to say that this album is kind of a sister album to Paper Mache Dream Balloon, with just a little bit more electronics in it. Countdown, D-Day, and Tazetta might just be my favorite 3-song run in any of their albums. I love the flow of these 3 songs. I love the flow in general with this album. I feel like it's constantly like you're changing the channel or something between each one. It's just really fun. I will say I'm not crazy about the 3 instrumental Sketches of Brunswick East songs that go throughout. I feel like they're kind of fillery, I guess, but other than that, I really think this album is pretty much consistently awesome. However, the album that I have for number 8 is more consistent all the way throughout, and that is Gumboot Soup. In 2017, King Gizzard put out 5 albums, and Gumboot Soup was the last one. This was mainly just a mix of extras and B-sides that didn't make it on the previous albums to release. Similar to what was done in 2014's Oddments. Also similar to what Omnium Gatherum is probably going to be like. I really do think, along with Mind Fuzz, this might be the perfect introduction King Gizzard album. You could just have someone listen to it, they could tell you, oh, I really like these genres, and then you could just point them to the album that has that sound all throughout. My favorites from this album include Greenhouse, Heat Death, Barefoot Desert. Down the Sink is probably Cookie's best song. Other than Crying from Oddments, I really enjoy that one. But The Wheel is also a fantastic closer as well. Number 7 might be a little bit more spicy, as I'm going to go with one of the 3 microtonal albums, and this is actually my favorite among the 3. And that is KG. I feel like a lot of people prefer LW and Flying Microtonal Banana, and I can see why they would. However, I just think KG is the one that is filled with the most absolutely amazing songs. Minimum Brain Size, Ontology, Intrasport, Odd Life, Honey, The Hungry Wolf of Fate. I could go on. I just really love this album. And I think it also has to do with the fact that it was the first brand new King Gizzard album to release, following me becoming a fan. So there was a little bit of an extra layer of excitement for when this came out. However, I just genuinely do think it is the best of the 3 microtonal albums. Going into number 6, I can tell you that this is where the list gets a little bit more definitive. What I mean by that is the albums that I've mentioned previously, you can ask me in a few months and they might either be in a different order or not even in my top 10 at all. However, these next 6 albums have been in my top 6 for, since the last time I even did one of these. And that kicks off with number 6 being Infest the Rat's Nest. I think with a lot of people that aren't really crazy into heavy metal music or anything like that, you might have kind of slept on this album or not really given it a chance. However, after giving it a shot, I realized just how consistently great this album is all throughout production-wise. Right when it introduces a new idea, the song will end and introduce something completely new. So I really feel like none of it really wears out its welcome. And overall, I just think it's awesome. Perihelion, Self-Immolate, and Hell are my 3 favorites from this album. And I would definitely say that Hell is one of their best closers in any of their albums. Number 5 is like Infest the Rat's Nest in that it is very consistent all the way throughout, and it's also one of their more shorter albums. And that is Paper Mache Dream Balloon. Which is funny because it's the complete opposite from Infest the Rat's Nest sound-wise, but I just really, really enjoy how consistent this album is. I know I keep saying that, but literally this album from beginning to end has no low points for me. And similar to Rat's Nest, right when you start to get maybe a little sick of an idea, the song will end and completely change things up and introduce a new idea. Cold Cadaver, Time Equals Fate, Time Equals Money, Most of What I Like, the title track, Paper Mache Dream Balloon, all amazing, and definitely one of my favorite albums. Going into number 4, we have another album that is very conceptual. You know, it's got an idea and they ran with it, and that is Murder of the Universe. The Altered Beast section at the beginning is probably my favorite in the entire album. I love that they totally could have made this like a 12-minute long anthem, but they decided to split things up and have each song have its own distinct, you know, memorable feel to it, and I really enjoyed that part of it. I love the Lord of Lightning section, but I also really, really love the Hantayumi Murder of the Universe finale. Digital Black might be one of my favorite King Gizzard songs ever. Heading into my top 3, it begins with Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. I unfortunately feel like I always see this album near the bottom of King Gizzard album rankings, and I don't know why. I really, really love the unique sound and vibe to this album. Head on Pill is my second favorite King Gizzard song of all time. I also really love Mystery Jack, God is Calling Me Back Home, Pop in My Step is one of my favorite Cookie songs, and I cannot forget the closing track, Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. I know I said that The Wheel and Hell, they definitely might be up there for their best closing tracks. However, this is their best, and I would love to hear this song live. The build-ups to the really, really satisfying guitar sections in this song just make it so worth listening to, and the lyrics are really relaxing, and I just can't recommend this album enough. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, my top 2 albums are kind of boring as they're not gonna come as massive shockers. But with that said, number 2 is Nonagon Infinity. Mind Fuzz was my very first King Gizzard album I ever listened to, Nonagon was my second, and Mind Fuzz got me into the band, but Nonagon like made me love the band. Everyone knows about its concept, you know, it constantly repeats itself, but the transitions in this album are just fantastic. I really love Invisible Face, it's my favorite King Gizzard song ever. Evil Death Roll, People Vultures, Gamma Knife, Mr. Beat, the closing track, Road Train, they're all fantastic. And also, I think this album has the best music videos of any of their albums. They're just really, really well done. It gets all of the praise for a reason. It's timeless. I think production-wise, it's going to be regarded as one of their best all time, and it's my number 2 pick. Heading into number 1, like I said, this is not anything like mind-blowing or anything like that, but for me, it is Polygon Wonderland. I feel like most people have this as their number 1, and for good reason. I think, you know, it's just so uniquely put together, and every time I listen to it, I notice something in the background, you know, if I have the headphones on. The story is very interesting. It's split up into 4 sections, kind of like my Murder of the Universe is. It's got Crumbling Castle, one of the best album intro songs that they have. Polygon Wonderland, Deserted Dunes is a top 10 song for me by the band. Tetrachromacy, Searching, the closing track, The Fourth Color, it's flawless all the way throughout. And if it's an album that you really just aren't, you know, you don't really get, or you're like, why do people love it so much? Keep giving it a chance. I feel like I see on Reddit all the time, people are like, Polygon Wonderland's overrated, I don't get it. And then the same account will post a few weeks later like, oh my god, I get it now. Polygon Wonderland is awesome. I don't know, I've seen that a few times. But if Polygon Wonderland isn't really your thing, keep giving it a few more chances. You might fall in love with it. But anyways, guys, that is my top 10. I hope you enjoyed. It's just my opinions. This wasn't my top 10 best King Gizzard albums video. It's my top 10 favorites. So hopefully you guys aren't pissed or anything like that. But I would love to hear what your favorites are in the comments below. But with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.